Welcome to the Billy Ho Forecast Show. Please subscribe and like the video. Remember, the more you share, the bigger we grow. Now, let's go! All right, Billy Ho here, coming at you for the Wells Fargo Championship, held at Potomac at Avenel Farms. I got with me my man, the DFS chef himself, Dave, and we're going to get it right into it, Dave. I wanted to ask you first off, other than driving accuracy and approach and greens and regulation, which everybody knows that are going to be important this week. What's any other stats you're considering that would be important to you?
Well, this week is completely different from the course that this event is normally played on, so normally Quail Hollow, completely different course, completely different skill sets we're looking at this week. Obviously, like you mentioned, approach play, always very important. Ball strikers that we're looking at, driving accuracy is going to be key, where Quail Hollow allows a lot of the bombers to have an advantage. This is the course that is not going to allow bombers to have an advantage. And other than 2018, when Molinari won here I think he won by like 8 strokes. He shot 21 under par. That was an outlier. Don't expect that to happen. Yep. If you go back over the years and look at the average score on this course, it's like 7 or 8 under. So expect that. So you're going to really be looking more at like bogey avoidance this week, because you're not getting, I don't think you're going to have a double-digit winner this week. All those stats that you mentioned, I'm throwing in bogey avoidance. It's a par 70, so we only have 2 par 5s, and actually these par 5s rank out pretty difficult par 5s if you go back over the history of this course. So I think par 4 scoring average is going to be important, especially looking at maybe like par 4 efficiency between 450 and 500 yards, because you have 6 par 4s that are average, that are 450 or higher. And then what Rick, I always call Rick Gaiman my guru. He always mentions the buckets, which is proximity. But this week, you're not looking at like 125 to 150, because everyone's going to be clubbing down, obviously, because they want accuracy. So you need to get fairways. So most of your second shots are going to be coming from like 175 to 200. So I'm looking at those along with the other stats you mentioned.
Yeah, that sounds good, Dave. I was thinking along the same lines, because hitting this fescue / Kentucky Bluegrass rough is not to be messed with. And early look at the weather, it's going to be wet. Rain coming in on Wednesday, rain on Friday. So you're going to be on the lookout for that. So I added in addition to that, is some short game and some scrambling skills. And we're going to go ahead and get into what your model's got going on. All right. Next question I wanted to ask you, with over 150 players in the field this week, how are you looking at building your lineups? You going balanced, or are you going stars and scrubs? What are you looking at, Dave?
Well, I take a different approach from a lot of people, because again, I kind of go with, Rick Gaiman's approach, where I always will play minimum 40 lineups. Usually I'll throw in 120 max, and I'll use the core cascade method, which obviously that's kind of Rick's thing. And ever since I followed Rick, I've followed that same approach. So 120 max contest I enter, I'll do a 20 max where, I'll do that core cascade where I'll leave money on the table. And then for those people that aren't familiar with that core cascade, let's say, for instance, I start and my bottom guy finishes at 7,100, and let's say I leave 900 on the table. So I'll adjust 3 lineups off that $7,100 guy, and I can go up 900 to go up to 8,000 if I want. or again, leave some money on the table that way. And then so on and so on. Let's say my next guy's 77. I have 900. I can go to 86 if I want and go that way. So I always do 20 lineups that way. The course cascade, when I do it, seems to be more balanced. And then I'll do another 20 max contest where I'll take a lot of my, key stats that I'm looking at. And instead of doing like an overall kind of a lineup based on key stats, I'll break it down. And here's where, the chef comes in, and I'll take each ingredient and I'll make a lineup based off of each ingredient. So I'll look at 6 guys precisely off of, say, strokes gained approach, and I'll really make a lineup based off of that. And I'm not taking guys that are not obviously in my player pool. There might be a golfer that grades out high in strokes gained approach, but then when I look at the other stats involved, he might not, be in there, and he might not make my player pool. So I'll go down to the next guy and find someone that's high in strokes gained approach, but that is in my player pool. So when I do that, a lot of times it could be where 10 builds might be a little bit more stars and scrubsy, and the other 10 builds might be a little bit more balanced. So I'm kind of a mixed bag when I do my lineups.
Yeah, that sounds good. I'm kind of the same way. I've been trying to lean more toward balanced, but what I've tried to do is I make between 17 and 20 lineups myself, and I don't really do like a 20 max. I'll just sprinkle them throughout different tournaments, through 3 maxes, through single entries and whatnot. And but I'll do like a 50-50. I'll take like a stars and scrubs type approach to half those lineups, and then I'll do like a more balanced approach to the other half of the lineups. And you got 5 10K plus guys, approximately 5 or 6 9Ks, and then the 8Ks are a few more, a lot of 7Ks and a ton of 6Ks. So we're going to do 1 10K and up guy piece, 1 a piece on the 9K, 2 on the 8K, 3 on the 7K, and then 4 we're going to go sub 7K, and see if we can't put together 10 guys that sound good a piece. So I'll go ahead and kick it off first, because I want to steal Rory. I don't know if you were going to go Rory or not, but I see he's ranked like 138th in your model here, but that, we're not taking it into account, just for you all watching. Seeing the red here is course history. That's what Dave pointed out with the 2018 and 2017 Avenel Farms. This tournament history is Wells Fargo at Quail Hollow. So this is kind of what you don't want to pay so much attention to. That's why Rory's got all these high finishes.
Yeah. And the reason he's grading out 138 on my model is if you like pan over to the stats, he doesn't have enough rounds to qualify for stats. So
I see. Right.
So that's really bringing his overall rank down. But
yeah,
obviously he's not 138,
Right. Because he's only got about 4 or 5 events or so, I think, so far this year. But one of the main reasons I wanted Rory was I think he's going to lead the field off the tee this week. And I know he can be a little bit wild with it, but I just remember in the past, he can eat up wet courses. So how about you for the 10K?
If you were to click on that second tab on my stat model, you'll see that I do have that bets and player pool tab. I've got, the comp courses that I have, and then I add, my extra nuggets of information that I have on there. And I have strokes gained total comp courses since 2020. Rory's on that list, and all of those comp courses that I have up there would be in that strokes gained comp course size that I'm looking at. I think what I'm hearing around the industry is Connors is going to be chalk.
Yes.
So as of right now, I'm probably leaning a little bit more toward Fitzpatrick, especially when I mentioned that the scores are going to be probably in that like 7 to 8 range for the winner, and bogey avoidance is going to be key. I think Fitzpatrick fits that mold. So I'm probably leaning on Fitzpatrick in that 10K range.
I do like Fitzy, and I do like Corey Connors as well, but that was the main reason why I went Rory, was because at an early look at ownership, Connors is pushing 25% and Rory is sub 15 right now. So that was one of those reasons. So let's jump down into the 9K, and Dave, and I'll let you go ahead and give us your 9K pick.
And the guy that's gaining a lot of steam for me, and I'm going to have to find out where his ownership lies. Terrell Hatton is a guy that's really gaining steam for me. And I think that in that 9K range, other than Patrick Reed, he's probably going to be one of the lowest owns in that 9K range. So I'm thinking at least for GPP, I'm really starting to gain some steam with Terrell Hatton.
Yeah, I see that. He's about 8% on the early look. And then again, you have to take with a grain of salt on Fantasy Nationals. They try to do calculated ownership, but I feel like it's a little bit on the biased side of people that actually build models on Fantasy National. So when you just have your regular people in there too, that can sway your ownership. But I did want to bring up this model real quick. This is a custom stat model for under 7,200 yards and par 70s over about the last 4 years, like you were just talking about. And here's where some of your guys are ranking out so far. Yet, and I'll go ahead and take Russell Henley as my 9K guy because he just pops all over the place in any kind of approach game model. He's solid with good drives. He's got somewhat better of a short game than he used to have. And he's been scoring a lot of DK points. But if you did look at ownership, Patrick Reed who played well at Mexico, is like sub 5%. So that might be a pivot as well. And now, if we jump down into the 8Ks, we're going to do two. And I am going to take my man, famous Seamus, who I think is a better course fit here. He's pretty accurate. Although this is a comp course model, so it's going to be 36 rounds over the last 4 years. And we all know over the last year, Seamus Power has absolutely changed his entire game and become a lot more elite. So these stats aren't going to exactly reflect how he's been playing over the last year. But he's the first guy I'm going to look at. And then I got to go Webb Simpson. I know I keep plugging away on him, and he's not Webb like he used to be, but he's Webb Simpson. And this course should suit him. He should be able to get fairways and greens all day and nice soft conditions. And he's got the short game, and he's a pretty much positive putter on any surface. So let's go get some Webb this week. How about you, Dave? 8K.
Well, I mean, you know that I'm a huge Webb fan, so I'll most likely have some shares of Webb myself. I think you're correct with Seamus Power. This is a course that's going to suit him. I think he's better on these shorter courses, that definitely require accuracy. Casey's a question mark. Is his back healthy? But again, if you're dealing with a back, that could go at any time. So it's just whether or not how much you're going to risk taking someone that could possibly be a withdrawal at any moment. Obviously, I think the chatter in the industry in that 8K range is Max Homa. Again, elite ball striker. Over the last 24 rounds, he's positive. Off the tee, positive on approach. The around the green play is a little bit, under par. He's just slightly negative, but he's got a positive putter over his last 24 rounds. He's good at finding greens in regulation. So I understand Homa. I'll definitely have Homa. And then, for the longest time, I was questioning, this kid, but he continues to prove me wrong. You got to go with Cameron Young.
I love that guy.
He's just doing it. Over his last 24 rounds off the tee. I think he's up near the top in the field over his last 24 rounds off the tee.
Oh, absolutely.
He's positive in every strokes gained metric. He's long. He's averaging over 300 yards, per drive. But aside from the fact that he's averaging over 300 yards per drive, he's actually pretty accurate off the tee as well. So everything's kind of checking the box for Cameron Young. So I think it's kind of those two guys, and like you mentioned, definitely Power and Webb as well.
Yeah, I agree with your Cam Young take, and he is a bomber off the tee, but the man hits the required shot, so he's not going to go up there and see a fairway that he knows he needs to dial back on. He's pulling out the driving iron and crushing it out there, 290 yards. So I do appreciate that about him. So we'll go ahead and jump down into the 7K range, and I'll let you kick us off there. We want 3 7K guys from you, Dave.
Okay. Obviously, again, I'm hearing Kuchar's name around the industry. And I can understand that. The only thing that I'm worried about with Kuch is his accuracy is actually not all that great off the tee. He's sub 60% accuracy over his last 24 rounds. Loses strokes gained off the tee, and he's losing on approach over his last 24 rounds. He's relying definitely on the putter and his around the green play. So I don't know if he's going to make like a cash build for me. I'm kind of looking at going with Joel Damon. Again, very accurate off the tee. He kind of fits that mold that you're looking for this week. So I think Joel Damon is going to be a guy that's probably going to be someone I'm looking at. I'm going to probably go back to a guy I went with last week, and he's been playing pretty good, and that's Adam Long. Adam Long, again, he's positive off the tee. He's a good putter. I don't think birdie or better percentage is going to be a huge stat this week. So, I mean, I can overlook that he's not the best with his birdie or better percentage, but he's hitting 70% of his fairways over his last 24 rounds. So something that I like. The only thing that I'm a little bit worrisome is his approach play has been, subpar over his last 24 rounds. And I would love to see his greens in regulation a little bit higher, but I think I can trust him.
Now, I agree with your Kuchar call, so I'm going to stick with him. And you actually just mentioned the last guy on my list was Lucas Glover, because his ability to ball strike, and he's got good strokes gained off the tee, and he's decent with, and this is good drives, which is similar to accuracy, but it's even if you miss the fairway, did you hit the green in regulation, and did you make your par kind of thing? And so of course, strokes gain approach and all that good stuff. But the one guy that I'm warming up to at 7,700 is Brian Harmon. His last 4 events, he's got the driver rolling, and he's always got the short game, and the dude can get hot fire with the putter. So I'm going to get Brian Harmon in there at 7,700. Now let's get into 6K. I'm going to run these real quick. The first guy I like is absolutely going to be Adam Svensson, 6,900. And this is a perfect course for him because he's solid off the tee, and he's a great iron player. He should be hitting a lot of greens this week. And he does tend to struggle with the putter a little bit, but I think the change to a bent surface is going to help him in that category. So I like him. I like Sam Ryder. He's another guy that is dialed in with the irons. He's been really playing well lately. And another guy who shocked the hell out of me, Ches Reavie. And I don't know if you watched the Mexico Open. That dude was getting down on that long course. I couldn't believe it. I was like, finally a Ches sighting. So as long as he's putting and not, his putter has been the death of him over the last 8 months of his career. So he looks like he's got his shit back together. And the last guy I wanted to mention down here is Mr. Chase Seifer. He's another guy that only gets like limited starts on tour. So he always likes to take advantage of the opportunities he gets. And I think down here, he's 49th in your model. And I think he's better than a lot of these guys in his range. Hayden Buckley's another one. You can tell us about him if you like. but I like Chase Seifer down here at 6,500. All right, real quick, Dave, just toss me out 4 6K guys.
Yeah, I'm probably going to try and avoid the 6K range as much as I can, but the 4 guys I'm looking at, one's going to be, probably going to be popular. That's Ryan Armour. Again, accuracy off the tee. If you look at past results, he's been on that pretty high up for past results on this course. So Ryan Armour is going to be one guy I'm going to probably look at if I have to go here. I'll go right back to the well this week. I don't think this last week's course set up really well for him, but I think this course does. So I'm not afraid to go back to Tyler Duncan this week. And then looking at those strokes gained comp courses, for me, Sung Kang has had success at this course. So I might be looking at possibly, if I have to go down here, I might look at some Sung Kang. And I think the fourth guy for me probably would be, even though his recent form has not been good, he did pop up on here. Possibly KH Lee might be a guy that I'm looking at, sub 7. And if not KH Lee, then maybe Brian Stewart, just because of his accuracy off the tee.
All right, that sounds good, man. I think we'll go ahead and end things there. Tell everybody where you're at on Twitter so they can give you a follow.
Yeah, definitely. On Twitter at the DFS Chef. Again, anyone that's interested, you can get my stat model each and every week. I do it like $1 per week, or if you want to do the rest of the season now, because we're kind of most of the way through, I'll do a special offer at $10, for the entire rest of the season, which works out pretty damn cheap. This week's model I'm actually going to put up in the Discord completely free. So if anyone that uses our Discord can access my stat model and use it. And any questions people have, you can always at me, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can.
All right, that sounds good, Dave. Man, I appreciate it. I'm glad we got to hook up. You're been a long time member of the Twitter community and the DFS world of PGA, NFL, and really appreciate you hanging out in our Discord. And thanks a lot for joining us.
Yeah, definitely. It's always good to be here, and hopefully we can do this again.
All right, man. Sounds good.